Hey everybody, Doc with Ready Set Crypto. We have a little market event going on here today. Hopefully you can hear me all right. Hello everybody out there. If you're watching the charts, you're probably wondering what on earth is going on. So let's cut over to the charts here and let's take a look. And let's see if we get this working here. Okay, so this is BTC. We can go down through just about anything that we want to here. We can look at Ethereum. Ethereum's getting crushed. We've got Ripple. I mean, it doesn't matter what we're looking at here. Let's focus on Bitcoin for right now. This is the one that we've talked about the most over the last few weeks. And this is kind of what I've been expecting. Not to say that we predicted the future, but quite honestly, when everybody sees the same thing, this is where it's likely to do the opposite thing. Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. We're just doing a quick live stream here. We're going to be in and out of your hair in just a few minutes. I just wanted to let you know what's going on. Maybe some of you did not even know that we're seeing a sell-off right now. But I think what's more important than that, like predicting the future, is like, what do you do from here? What levels do you look at to be able to understand how to make a decision from here? I think that is probably the most important thing. So let's go back to where we were. We're in this major uptrend, right? Major uptrend. Range expansion goes to range contraction. Now, what we talked about last week was we said we have a symmetrical triangle. The price is kind of going into that wedge. It's going into the very apex of the wedge. And we have a tremendous amount of energy. It's not going to just sit there forever. So we know approximately about when it's going to start to move. We never know exactly what's going to make it move. We don't know what the catalyst is for making it move. It doesn't really matter, right? It could be anything. According to theory, according to chart theory, 94% of the time we'll get an eventual breakout to the upside from here. Okay, it looks like everybody is loud and clear. Hello from Belgium and everything. Okay, super. So everybody's kind of expecting the upside movement here, and when everybody sees the same thing, the opposite is likely to occur. And just yesterday in our Omnia newsletter, I threw up a chart of the S&P 500 from back in 2011, where we had the same exact thing happen. Out of a bear market or a big correction, we had a big rally come up, consolidated in a triangle, and actually broke to the downside, went all the way back down to the 61.8% retracement, and then took off like that. This is what I still believe will happen on here. It's the market's job to weed out the weak hands that are out there right now. That's the market's job, is to weed out, is to create the greatest amount of pain to the largest percentage of individuals out there until they just can't take it anymore. This is what markets move on. Now, there's a couple of things that we can look at here in terms of support. So obviously everybody wants to know, where is this thing going to bounce? So 9100, which is the pink line that I had here, and I do believe this was a symmetrical triangle because we did have higher lows, lower highs. So if this was all equal lows, 9100, 9100, then I would agree with people saying it was a descending triangle. So to me, this is still symmetrical. We broke down through there today so far with what, 4.5 hours left to go before the close. Where could we get support from this point? So this is where I get into what I call, or what is called, volume profile. So volume profile is going to give us a slightly different look at this. This is showing the amount of volume traded at price. And to me, right around 8,000 is the next level of support. So I want to watch very carefully how the price handles 8,000 at this point. Again, go back a couple of weeks. This is exactly what I was saying before. Watch for 8,000. Watch for the price. This is what generates support, right? Is when you have a lot of trading at that point. That's what generates support. You don't generate any support from a breakout move like that. And that's the problem. You can see this on the volume profile that we had very little activity from about 8,500 up to mid 9,000s. And so it creates a vacuum. And markets like to fill vacuums. Market like to fill vacuums. So I think there's a good chance that we come back down here to maybe 8,000 or so. I don't know. Again, I'm not predicting the future. I don't know what's going to happen between now and tomorrow. But more than likely what happens is you tend to find markets going between these areas of high volume nodes. High volume nodes, markets will go there. Now, if we get really, really ugly from here, we could go back down to, I'd say maybe 6,500. So that would be the next level of support, and I'm basing that based on this level of shelf right in here. So to me, this is the next level of support, which is around 6,500. I do believe 8,000 should provide a decent level. So if you want to know how to evaluate this, look for how the price handles at 8,000. If it comes down to 8,000, almost like it's touching a hot stove and it jumps right off of there, then there's a lot of buy orders sitting in there, as well as people with existing short positions are taking them off at that point. So we might see at least a little bit of reaction. Now don't forget, rule number 2 that I talk about of price action is that reversals start from the inside out. So we can go all the way down to maybe even the 12-minute chart here. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Look at that thing go. Right, so there's your 12-minute chart. What will happen is this will start to reverse first before anything else. So if we actually do get a true reversal, we'll see this happening on the smaller time frames first, right? So bottom line here today, 9,100 cut through, more than likely 8,000 next stop. If 8,000 is broken through, then I would look to see around 6,500. Okay, any questions? Anybody have any questions for me? Anybody want to just see what's going on or throw anything out there for me? Are we forming a bull flag now? Are we forming a bull flag now? Well, let's go out to the different time frames. This could be a larger time frame bull flag. Now this was a weekly, so let's just go out to the weekly chart here. Oh, let's see, there we go. Okay, let's stretch this out a little bit. So this was a weekly pennant pattern, and right now what it may be doing is just setting up a bull flag. Now, that's a pretty big bull flag, but what we'd have to do is to see something around here, and that also goes down to about 8,000. So if we connect the dots here, that's about 8,000. So descending patterns typically do break to the upside. Yeah, Chainlink is holding well today. So Chainlink was out there. Oh, let's see where Chainlink is. I've got that on one of my watch lists here. Chainlink is up 10% today. So this is a weekly chart. There's your daily. So some things are going to be going up. Now don't forget, with Bitcoin going down, you're going to see false rallies on the altcoins. Why is it a false rally? If the altcoin basically doesn't have any trading volume or nobody was really doing anything with it, the fact that BTC is going down in the denominator means that the whole fraction goes up in value. So you might see some of these altcoins in here, although I didn't see any really today. Earlier, maybe like a 0x, right? 0x is heading higher right now. Okay, so you'll see these little false rallies and altcoins. Don't pay any attention to that. That's just because the reference currency BTC is getting hammered. Did BACT have a negative effect on Bitcoin? I don't think so, unless people were holding their breath thinking that BACT was going to support the whole market. You know, I mean, the problem is that unless institutions use it, it's not getting a whole lot of volume right now. It is not a retail platform. You can't just go onto back.com and sign up for a retail account, unless maybe you're an accredited investor or anything like that. But you have to be an institution to use it. Now, I reached out to TD Ameritrade today, who is my US-based broker, that I could trade futures on the CME if I wanted to out there. I used to trade futures on the CBOE futures before they just took them off. The CME futures are terrible. They're worth 5 BTC. It's way too big for a retail contract. So I asked them as to whether or not they were going to be adding the backed futures. They said, well, we'll look at it. It may take a while. So there's really no real thought to that. To me, this is just like another red herring, just like the Bitcoin ETF was. You know, we don't need a specific futures contract to support the market. It's all about supply and demand and scarcity. Okay. Yeah, Bitcoin at 6,500 I'm buying. Bitcoin at 6,500 should be a shelf of support. So 8,000 should be the first one. Let's see if there's anything else going on here. So down 10% today already. So that's good. That's good. This is what's necessary to shake things up. Now a lot of people don't understand how price moves, right? So they just think that, well, demand is greater than supply. No, that's not how price moves. And this is something I need you guys to understand at some point, is that it's not about, price doesn't move if demand is greater than supply. That's Econ 101 kind of thing right out of a textbook. The way that price really moves is to get one side of the ledger. So think about two sides of the ledger. You got bulls, you got bears. You've got to get one side of the ledger completely and totally committed, thinking that this is the easiest trade in the world, and they double up, triple up, quintuple. They put everything in, they back the truck up, right? So they're completely and totally overcommitted because they think it's a safe trade. And then all of a sudden, what happens is, in this case, maybe the selling dries up. Maybe some institutional bulls say, thank you very much, this is what we were waiting for. I mean, I've seen this happen in the equity markets for the last 10 years, exactly the same way. This is what happens. They push it down, they get the fear ramped up, and then they get one side to overcommit, and then they take them out to lunch, right? So this is what I would love to see. In a perfect world, if I had the means of disposal to move this market around, which I do not, but if I could, this is what I would do. I would do something like this. I would see a move like this to come down to test 8,000. I'd see a bounce back up. I'd see one more test down here to this level, and this is what sets the trap. This is where the bears are like, oh, there's another lower high. Here comes another lower low. This is the safe trade, because frankly, nobody got on board for this one, right? So they're looking for the safe trade, and this is where the trap gets set with the higher low, higher high, and this is where the bears are just scrambling to get out at that point. Okay, let's see, any other questions? The low backed volume made people bail. I don't know about that. Can you actually believe that people were, well, I'm going to go long Bitcoin, but only if backed is there to support the market? No, it was just another thing to write about. It really doesn't matter. Did the addition of the CBOE and CME futures back in 2017 support the market? No, quite the opposite. It doesn't really matter what's happening out there. I don't see any institutional money coming into the market at this rate. Institutions will look for yield. Think about this right now. Think about this. We just dropped interest rates again last week. The EU is talking about, Mario Draghi is like going to debase the currency, debase the euro even more. They're going to be shoveling cash into markets. There's no yield that's out there. This is why equity markets are still up near the all-time highs, because there's no yield in bonds. And so what people are doing is shoveling money into stocks that are paying a dividend, right? So if somebody looks at Bitcoin and says, hey, you know what? I think this is going to be a scarce asset someday. They will not buy unless there's fear in the streets. Institutional buyers are very, very smart. They know what provides value. And buying a breakout at 11,000 is not a value play. These guys are always looking for the contrarian trade. So I think there's a good shot that we bottom out somewhere down in this area. On extreme fear, you're going to see every news article down here is going to be absolutely no good, right? So Bitcoin looking for 1,000. Tone Vase collects on bet, you know. John McAfee loses bet. It's all going to be like that. Every article is going to be negative, and this is where blood in the streets. This is going to be the time to buy. So what targets am I looking at? So if you've just joined us here, you can kind of rewind the video if you want to. The first target I'm looking at is 8,000. 8,000 should provide support. If 8,000 does not provide support, I'm going to be looking at about 6,500. Below that, all bets are off. I believe that 6,500 will hold as support right now. Okay. If you are thinking that crypto is in trouble because of this, then, I mean, you could be right. I don't know. But what I've seen before is in the context of an uptrend, usually something like this is an opportunity. In the context of a major uptrend, usually something like this is an opportunity. Again, this is where you have to get into rule number one of risk management. Is this an uptrend or a downtrend? To me, this is still an uptrend. Even if we go out to the monthly chart, this is a major uptrend, just going through a pullback right now. Okay, so this is the context. Now, if this changes, if it prints a lower high and rolls over, then I'm going to have to change my opinion on it. Okay, all right, I'm going to just take a couple other questions. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on what's going on. So number one, we're seeing a big, 10% haircut in Bitcoin as well as many other assets right now. We're up, down by 11 to 20% or so. So number one, that's it. Number two, why this happened. And then number three, what levels that I'm looking at to provide support. And in the next day or so, I'll be talking about what we can do with this type of move to generate opportunity. So I'll be talking about that tonight in the Omnia newsletter. Any other last questions, guys? Any other last questions? Somebody was asking how you set volume profile. So volume profile is, if you go into indicators in TradingView, you'll see it right in here. So you pull up indicators, favorites, built-in, public library, volume profile is right there. I don't believe you can do this on the free version of TradingView. You have to have the, the fancy schwanky version for that. Okay. All right, so if you are hodling, this is going to be around the time where you go, oh crap, what do I do now? You have to follow your plan. If you said that you were a hodler, you have to stick with your plan. You can't discretionarily abandon your strategy. If you said you're a hodler and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I can't do this, then that means that you're really not. Then you may want to consider swing trading if that's the case. Okay. All right, let me just throw out one last time for those of you that joined late. Let's go back here. Daily chart, we have a sweet little 8% or 11% haircut on Bitcoin is happening right now. It's just in the last half hour has just jumped out of bed and broken through that nice trend line that we had. Okay, so everybody is wanting to know what's going to happen in the future here. Don't know, but we have broken through 9,100, which was strong support. I've been saying this in the newsletter for some time. There is such thing as a triple bottom, but there's no such thing as a quadruple bottom. That does not exist. So we got 3 tests of the bottom. The 4th is the killer. So now what's going to be happening is support should be coming in around 8,000. If support does fail at 8,000, we're heading for 6,500. Okay. Guys, that's about all I had today for you. Just wanted to give you a quick update. We could sit here all night and watch this thing, but wanted to give you a quick update. It's time to switch over to newsletter time. So for those of you that are on our Omnia newsletter, you'll see our edition probably in a couple of hours from now. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me. We will see you shortly, and I'll probably see you guys tomorrow as well too on here with Mav. Everybody take care. We'll see you around soon. Hang in there.